There I am. There I am. Welcome to the good fight. We are live. We are. I haven't been here for at least 5 months. 5 weeks. 1 week in between, another 5 weeks. So I've been in class all that time. And what a joy it is to finally be here with you face to face, screen to screen, virtual to virtual, right? I just want you to know how grateful I am that you hung in there with me, that you continue to reach out to me, you continue to comment, you continue to be engaged. Like, yes, what that does for my spirit, you will never know because there aren't any words in the English language. I can't even think of any words in ASL that will just let me show it to you, right? Like, show you how just excited I am, right? But yes, thank you for your encouragement and your support. I really appreciate it. Welcome to the Good Fight. For those of you who are attending for your first time, and I know that you are out there, I used to wonder, like, you think anybody's watching? You think anybody's gonna come back? That's what I used to wonder, but now I don't. I am just fortified in knowing that you are there, and I want you to know how grateful we are that you are here. And so, in the spirit of Sawubona, in the spirit of oneness, in the spirit of that Zulu tribal greeting that goes beyond the hello, to embrace the whole of who you are with all of your ancestry, and for you, and to invite you to do the same with me, right? I want to bring my whole self. Like, where can we find that? As a matter of fact, that's what I thought this session was going to be on: home. Nikki preached a sermon on Sunday about the prodigal son. And I will say this every chance I get, that I have no idea why they call it the prodigal son, because prodigal means generous. It means giving, like to excess. And that is absolutely the way that we can characterize God in this story. But to give that adjective to the son, I don't get it. But she talked about this son, the younger son, who demanded his inheritance and then went and squandered it, but he was always able to come back home. And so I was thinking about that, and she really had my mind just going. And I want to talk about that, but not tonight. I just couldn't get it together for tonight because I engaged in conversation with Nikki because I wanted her to know, hey, I'm going to take off from something that you said. I don't know, just out of professional courtesy. Like, you inspired me. I just want you to know this. And I was inviting her to offer some thoughts or some notes that I could share with you, but I just couldn't get it together. But in this moment, when I think about the word home, that's how I feel. Like, this is where I belong. Like, this is my space. This is our space. This is us, y'all. We family. Woo, woo. So thank you for being here. You are welcome in the spirit of oneness. And I invite you to engage in the conversation. And here are the ways that you can engage, because this conversation is made possible by Just Talk Consulting, where we actually live into the philosophy that in order for our world to be more just, more equitable, more inclusive, more peaceful, we have got to learn. It is a necessity. It is imperative for us to learn how to live and love differently. And how do we do that? Well, in this particular context, we do that by examining the intersection of faith and social justice. So how does our faith inform the way that we vote? How does our faith informs who we invite to our home? How does our faith inform how we show up in every single context to embrace every single human, every single body, regardless of anything, regardless of race, ethnicity, regardless of body style or body shape, regardless of intellectual acumen? Like, nothing separates us from each other. So how does our faith guide us to this place where we say that you are welcome in this space, you are welcome in me, that we are one, and I celebrate and honor you? And so that's what we're here to talk about tonight. We are using the Bible because the majority of people in America, and particularly in the South, identify as Christian. So how do we meet each other where we are in our understanding of what the Bible is, and How do we invite those who are not professed Christians to feel comfortable in the conversation? How do we inform? How do we educate? How do we train? How do we equip people to have conversations that may be difficult for them and absolutely may be difficult for the hearers? And so, how do we get people to relax into a space where it is okay to embrace the exchange, right? Like, you tell me what you think, I'm telling you what I think. We may not agree. It may even make me feel some kind of way. I might even say, ouch, but still, I do not sever the relationship because in the spirit of oneness, we are interconnected through it all. And so that's what we're here to have conversation about, be made possible by Just Talk Consulting. And we can do that by engaging, by seeing yourself reflected in the mirror. See in the mirror. So as we are talking, you can find which part of the story, which character, which conversation where you can see yourself, where you believe that this is a highlight, an underscore of what's happening in you. One of the things that I never do, I absolutely never, ever, ever do, is tell somebody, God told me to tell you something, right? I believe, first of all, even if I were to continue to be invested in the understanding of God in a way that says God and Jesus and the Spirit are one. And so when I am talking to Jesus, then I am talking to God. And so when I have this communion with God, I get this information that I need to share. Even if I believed in that the same way that I did when I was a child, I still don't think that that gives me permission to come and tell you, because just like I think that God is communing with me through Jesus, I think that the same is happening with you. So God don't need me to come tell you anything because God is already in conversation with you. What I do think happens, though, is that there's already something going on in you. There are already dreams that you are having. There are already thoughts that are forming in your mind. There are already feelings that you are trying to decipher and understand. So something's already happening in your body. And so when I say something, when another person says something, it's not because Jesus just now shows up and drops this on you. It's actually affirmation, confirmation. It's actually a cementing of what is already going on. And so finding yourself in this story, not me saying this is what Jesus is telling you, I came to tell you, because sometimes preachers do that, right? I stopped by to tell you, right? Actually, what we've done is what the Spirit, I think, is doing in all of us, is that it's saying, because of our connectedness, because of our oneness, we can feel each other, so that I can know when I can sense that I've said something to hurt your feelings. I'm convicted because not just because the Spirit is at work, but because the Spirit is at work in both of us. And so when we are together, whether it's through texting or messaging or phone calls or emails, the Spirit is still moving, and I can say, wait a minute, something ain't right. Then I can start thinking back. Like, I really think I owe my friend Sean an apology. I asked my mama. My mama was like, I don't think so, but I'm still feeling like maybe. And so we begin to chase those feelings. And so one of the ways that you can engage is to say, where am I in this story? Like, what is the Spirit saying to me? So Denise is saying some words. Denise is giving some information. Denise is offering up things for consideration, but I was already on this path and on this journey. So she's just helping me along what God is already doing. She is not the one making it possible for me to have this conversation, just facilitating. That's all. Maybe I'm water. I don't know. Maybe I'm tilling the soil. Maybe I'm watching the flower grow. Like, I don't know, but I'm glad to be on the journey with you. Another way that you can engage is to look through a window. So somebody else's story, like this is, you really don't see yourself. Like, I can't find myself in this story, but I'm just intrigued. Like, I just want to know. I just want to hear somebody else's story. Like, I'm going to make myself present for it. I'm going to give myself over to this opportunity to receive what somebody else's lived experience is. And I just want to sit back. And I don't necessarily want to say enjoy the story, because there are some things that people say that are painful and traumatic. And you're like, oh, I feel that. So I don't want to say you want to enjoy it, but you do want to embrace the fact that this is an opportunity that you would not have if the person did not feel comfortable enough to share. Right? It takes a moment for people, particularly me. It takes me a moment to share what is happening way down deep in my soul. Like, I am a conversationalist. I am a public speaker. I am a digital creator. So I'm used to being in public. I'm used to being on the stage. I'm used to being in the spotlight. And still, there are times when I hold things close to my vest, because I just cannot right now. I just cannot right now. And so we are allowing someone else to have their I can moment. I can share. And we are grateful to receive that story. Another way that you can engage is to walk through a door. So beyond this moment, like what happens when I click in broadcast, in stream? Like what happens with the words that you have heard? What happens with them in your body? Do you dismiss them? Do you brush them off and sweep them up and put them in the trash? Do they grab hold to you and not let you go? Or do they inspire you, motivate you to have more conversation, more research, more knowledge? Like that's totally up to you. And I depend on the power of the Spirit to lead you and guide you in that way. And then if you want to share with me what your journey is, that's great. But if you don't, I'm okay with that. One of the things about being in conversation as a person of faith is that we have to resign within ourselves. We have to resolve within ourselves that that this work is so much bigger than we are, that we may never know. We may never know the influence. We may never get the compliment. We may never receive any. We may never, and that's still okay, because we can trust. And because of our relationship, we can trust that God is still moving no matter what happens with us. So you can walk through a door, and you can also comment. And now you can comment live. Woo, 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 woo. And even if we're not live, you can comment, and I will see the comment later on when I go to Facebook and check all of the notifications that I have, and we can go from there. So those of you who are always pushing me beyond this moment with your comments, I just want to say thank you. Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you. So like I said before, T's not, she's here. She's in the house. She's probably sleeping. She's probably sleeping, and I'm not gonna wake her. But sometimes she's back there watching her phone. We in the same house. Y'all know people that do that, right? They in the same house and they texting each other, or one will post on Facebook and the other will respond to the post on Facebook, and they both in the same house. Like, what? She might be doing that. Who knows? I'll know after the fact. But I want her to have one of the things that I've been really working on is making sure that at this stage in her life, being 86 years old, that she's no longer doing things because she feels obligated to do them. Because I'm a Christian, I have to go to church. Because I'm a wife, I have to do these things. Because I'm a mother, I have to do these things. Because I'm a teacher, I like, girl, be free. And it is amazing to watch her respond to me saying, you don't have to go. I don't have to go to church. You do not have to go. You do not. I can stay right here. Absolutely. So if she wants to come in here, that's fine. If she don't want to come in here, that's fine too. We're going to talk anyway. But please continue your prayers for her as we go to the doctor on Thursday. This is the final step in our assessment for her and getting her valve replaced in her heart. An aortic valve replacement is what she needs. So we've been rocking and rolling with CT scans and lab tests and breath tests. It's been one test, one screening, one draw after another. And here's our last step before the surgery is scheduled. So I'm glad about it. She's excited too, but she's also scared. So continue to pray for her that she may find comfort in knowing that she will never be alone, that I will be present with her as much as possible. Because, they be pushing me out the door. I'd be like, it's my mama. They'd be like, but you got to go. And I wait until the very last minute and then I leave. But even when my presence is not there, God's presence is. And that is good to know. So I don't know what she's going to do. We'll let her be. So tonight, I said earlier, I thought we were going to talk about home, but I found that I could not get that together. I could not wrap my mind around my own feelings about home. But it does come up again in this text. So we're talking tonight about this prodigal son. I don't want to say that. This prodigal God in relationship with this younger son. God is working through the son's natural father, natural being on earth, father. Like, I don't know their life. I don't know if he's the biological father. Could be the stepdad. We never talk about that, so I don't know. So the way that God moves through this father, and then we allow the father to be a symbol of who God is for us, and always embracing us, always loving us, always welcoming us, always receiving us, and always giving us a place that we can call home. And so this is what Nikki is talking about, and I'm thinking about home. But I really felt more pulled to this conversation, not about the prodigal son. Home does come up again here. We're talking about the demon possessed man in Luke chapter 8. So that's where we are on tonight, the demon possessed man in Luke chapter 8. And it's verses 26 through 39. And so I'm going to read the entire text, and then I'm going to, like, there are just a couple of, just two sections that I just kind of want to focus in on. And I've made those separate slides instead of like, look at this, like putting the whole thing up. Like, no, just look at this part. Like, I've tried to focus in and zoom in on those particular verses that help us along with the conversation. But I do want to tell you how I got here, if I can remember. I can't remember. But there's something about this text that is so, like, it's this aha moment. Like, no wonder we act the way that we act. No wonder we are responding the way that we're responding. No wonder we are shaming and stigmatizing. Like, no wonder. We see this behavior in our society. We see this behavior in our homes. We see this behavior in ourselves. It's because it is sourced in and it finds breath in the Bible. And so I want to talk about that. So I think that the best thing to do probably is just to go ahead and read Luke chapter 8, verses 26 through 39 in its entirety, so that we can just kind of set the tone so that you can hear what the text is. I might read it more than once. I don't know. It just depends. I got a new friend at the radio station. His name is L. He started coming in before my show. So he's doing Never Mind the Morning Show. I host Community Voices. And L this morning asked me, he was like, because when I got in, I was like really into my phone, like trying to figure some stuff out, because I do a lot of homework. But because I do a lot of homework and a lot of research, sometimes the names of the persons that I'm talking about, the cities that they're from, like sometimes those things begin to merge together. And I'm like, now what's his name again? Which one is in Mississippi? Like, which one is in Texas? And so I was trying to make sure I had my facts straight, because even though I'm not ashamed to say, hey, I messed something up, I still want to get it right as much as possible. So he said, so do you just like right now, like in this moment, you're going to think about what you're going to say and then you're going to say it? I'm like, oh no. Oh no, I've done some homework, like I've done some study, and still, even though I do that for my own learning style, for my own intellectual capacity. But after I've done all the work that I feel like I can do, I let it go. Like I turn myself over and say, okay, whatever is going to happen, I want to get in on the flow of what the Spirit is doing. And so I find myself walking away sometimes saying, I don't even know where that came from, or I didn't mean to say that, or I shocked myself, because like, I'm just as in the moment with you. I'm just as in the moment as you are, right? Even though I am prepared. And so one of the things that I have learned about my God is that all the work that I do, let's just say I do this much work, God never leads me over here to where I feel off kilter, or where I feel unbalanced, or where I no longer have confidence. Whatever I'm going to talk about, it's going to be well within the scope of what I've been preparing for. So I feel good about that. So I don't know what's about to happen, but I'm excited to see it with you. Hey, Aisha. Oh my God, I miss you, Miss Doctor. Wait a minute, what show is that on HBO? Is it Harlem, where they call, what's her name? Oh, I can't think of her real name, but they call her Miss Doctor. I was your 8th grade student at Powell Middle School. Oh, so Aisha, was your last name Granderson in middle school? I think I can remember Aisha, but Granderson? How? Look at my stuff from Powell. That's the school I went to as a child. I found myself full circle. I went to Powell as a student, and then I taught at Powell as an adult. And so here is Aisha. Hey, Aisha. I hope that all is well with your soul. Thank you for joining us tonight. Oh my goodness. You have just brought joy to my soul. Aisha is with us, y'all. Thank you, Aisha. Here she says, she's saying something, I think. Yes, ma'am. You taught me sign language and how to speak. Oh, wait a minute. I forgot to put it up here. I was so excited I forgot to put it up here. Oh my God. I love you, Miss Doctor. And then she says, you taught me sign language and how to speak properly. I think about you all the time. Thank you, Aisha. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I'm still doing sign language. As a matter of fact, I'm about to start teaching sign language here in Arkansas. I'm waiting on Brandy to give me the go ahead. It might even start this Saturday. I will definitely post something to let y'all know, but thank you, Aisha. Louise, that's my mama's name. Louise, that's my niece's middle name. Louise. So good to have you here. I want to start by reading this text. So here is Luke chapter 8, verses 26 through 39. And it's talking about the man who was demon possessed. And we'll talk about his name a little later on. So I just want to take a moment to read the entire text. So what I'm going to ask you to do is just find a way to center yourself, like whether or not you want to close your eyes, whether or not you want to read along with me, whether or not you want to focus on a space, like however it is that you can receive. So we want the words to wash over you. And when I say wash over you, I mean just let them fall, like just let them fall. And then you can decide what to do with them after they fall or as they fall. Like, do I want to receive that? Do I want to reject that? Do I want to question that? Do I want to challenge that? Do I want to smile at that? Like, that's totally up to you. So we're just allowing the words to be introduced into the conversation so that they can ground us. And then whatever happens with them, you have 100% autonomy to make sure that you are that the word is applied to your life according to you and your understanding, rather than feeling like you have to receive this and you have to understand it and you have to apply it. That's not the case. Not here at the Good Fight anyway. So here is the story. After the story, I'm going to pause for just a few minutes just so that I can just give you a moment to selah, pause, and calmly think about that. Not everything in the text you will remember. That is not the expectation, but there'll be something that you grab hold to that you just kind of want to marinate on. You want to nibble on a little bit, and that's fine. So here comes Luke chapter 8. Oh, and I'm reading from, I want to say this is the Good News translation. It should be up there. It might be up there. But this should be the Good News translation because there were only 2 translations that used a particular word that we'll talk about in a little bit. And that was the Good News translation and the Message. And I opted out of the Message, I think. So here's the Good News translation, Luke chapter 8, verses 26 through 39. Jesus and his disciples sailed on over to the territory of Gerasa, which is across the lake from Galilee. As Jesus stepped ashore, he was met by a man from the town who had demons in him. For a long time, this man had gone without clothes and would not stay at home, but spent his time in the burial caves. When he saw Jesus, he gave a loud cry, threw himself down at his feet, and shouted, "Jesus, Son of the Most High God, what do you want with me? I beg you, don't punish me." He said this because Jesus had ordered the evil spirits. Jesus had ordered the evil spirit to go out of him. Many times it had seized him, and even though he was kept a prisoner, his hands and feet tied with chains, he would break the chains and be driven by the demon out into the desert. Jesus asked him, "What is your name?" "My name is Mob," he answered, because many demons had gone into him. The demons begged Jesus not to send them into the abyss. There was a large herd of pigs nearby, feeding on a hillside. So the demons begged Jesus to let them go into the pigs, and he let them. They went out of the man and into the pigs. The whole herd rushed down the side of the cliff into the lake and was drowned. The men who had been taking care of the pigs saw what had happened, so they ran off and spread the news in the town and among the farms. People went out to see what had happened, and when they came to Jesus, they found the man from whom the demons had gone out sitting at the feet of Jesus, clothed and in his right mind. And they were all afraid. Those who had seen it told the people how the man had been cured. Then all the people from that territory asked Jesus to go away because they were terribly afraid. So Jesus got into the boat and left. The man from whom the demons had gone out begged Jesus, "Let me go with you." But Jesus sent him away, saying, "Go back home and tell what God has done for you." The man went through the town telling what Jesus had done for him. Now I know why I wanted to have this conversation. Remember, I was like, I don't even know. I can't remember how we got here. I remember now how we got here. It's that phrase that said, after Jesus delivered the man from his demons, after Jesus was able to exorcise the demons from the man, then the people went out and they told everybody what had happened. They came to see. I'm trying to get my screen back to where I can see in case there are comments. They came to see the man, and they found the man clothed and in his right mind. And what I was thinking about what attracted me to this scripture is that there is a misinterpretation, particularly in the Black church. It could be in other churches. I don't know, because I haven't spent time in the other churches. So this is not to say that it only happens in the Black church. That's just my experience. But particularly in the Black church, we have this misunderstanding of the text that when Jesus exorcises, delivers, rescues this man from the evil torment of these demons, they are no longer in his body, no longer controlling him. In that moment, what we have said, what we have had a tendency to say is that the man was clothed in his right mind. Clothed in his right mind. And so what we've done is we've given to Jesus the power to regulate a person's mind. So when we think about demons now in this day, in modern day age, many of us have come to understand that those demons sometimes were symbols of mental illness. Sometimes people's brain health manifested differently than other people's brain health, to the point where we can now go to doctors who can diagnose us with things like depression or anxiety or schizophrenia or bipolar or a combination of those things. And so we now know that many times those people from the Bible, because they did not have all of the information, the technology, the understanding of science and the advancements that we have access to, they didn't know what it was. So they just considered it to be demons. And so when we use this misinterpretation and say that this person is clothed in his right mind, what we are saying is you don't have to go to therapy because Jesus will fix your brain. You don't have to you don't have to worry about mental health illness because it's not a real manifestation of the chemical activity in your brain. What it is, it's a malfunction of the devil at work in you. And so you go to Jesus and you pray the spirits away, and Jesus will fix you after a while. And so it is a right, it is an opportunity for the church to say no to mental health, to say no to therapy, to say no to brain health concerns. Like, you don't have to worry about that. Jesus will fix you just like he did this man, because he clothed him in his right mind. And I was just thinking about the harm of that misinterpretation. That there are so many among us who need to go to somebody who has, who God is using in ministry in mental health, in the area of mental health. So like you could say that God is using the pastor, like God has called you to ministry. And so now you pastor a church. Okay, I can get with you on that. But God also calls people into the mental health arena, the mental health services area, so that they can also do a work them in the name of God, right? Through medical science. And they can help us understand what's happening in our brain and how to navigate that and how to be well, right? They can help us. And it doesn't always require medication, but sometimes it does. And that is okay. Listen to one who got some medication. See these hearing aids right here? Medication. Because I could not hear. And I was so busy trying to be clothed in my right hearing, so busy trying to get in all the lines for the Lord to lay hands on me so that I can recover, only for God to say, I'm trying to give you some medicine, but you won't take it because somebody done told you it ain't good for you. But whoever you were talking to is not me. And that's not what I said. You better get these hearing aids. And so sometimes we do need medication, not all the time, but sometimes we do. And so I was just thinking about the harm of scripture, thinking about the harm of pastors, me being one of them. And I say this all the time. I do not mind admitting and confessing that there is blood on my hands, that I have played an integral role in leading people into a theology that was false and leading people into a theology that was harmful and traumatic and sexist and patriarchal and oppressive. Like, I have done that for years. I don't mind saying that because it is part of my story. It is part of my journey. It is how I got here. And it was being a pastor that got me to this point where I'm like, what is really going on in these churches? And so I don't mind saying that. And so I was just thinking about the harm, thinking about the role that preachers play in causing the harm, in facilitating harm, in perpetuating harm, thinking about the harm that we cause in not being able to name that and own that, thinking about the harm of being able to name it, but being unwilling to do anything about it because we've already established ourselves as a certain kind of pastor. We've already established ourselves with longevity in the congregations that we've been serving. We don't know what's going to happen if we tell them we made a mistake. We don't know how they're going to respond to that. We don't know if the generations of families are going to freak out and leave the church and now we're going to lose their money. Like, we would rather just say, yeah, I know I'm messing up, but I'm still going to do it because there's safety in these numbers with people's butts in the seats, in the pews at church. So I was thinking about that, and I wanted to take a moment and say, y'all, that's not what the scripture says. Doesn't say that the man who was delivered from his demons, it doesn't say that he was clothed in his right mind. It says he was clothed and in his right mind. Because at the beginning of the story, when we come into contact with the man who has the demons, this demoniac that some people call him, this man who's filled with demons, some people call him a maniac. So when we find ourselves introduced to this man, he is naked. Number one, he is naked. Number two, he is homeless. And number three, he is living in the cemetery. He's living amongst the burial caves. So caves, places where people are buried, what we know to be cemeteries. Right? And so he's naked and he is homeless and he is living in the cemetery. But actually, let me just go back a minute. I'm not sure he's homeless. Because according to the scripture, it says that he wasn't living at home. It's like he was choosing to live in the cemeteries. Like this was the place that he would rather be rather than be at home. And so I told you home was going to come up again, right? Because I want to talk about home as it relates to the prodigal God dealing with the son. But it comes up again here that I was asking myself, now, what would make a person leave home? Like, so you've got a house, you've got four walls, you've got rooms that you can live in differently. So you can eat in this room, you can sleep in this room, you can watch TV in this room, like all of that. Or maybe there's a combination of that because I got this open plan where, like, even if you're in the kitchen, you could be watching TV. Even if you're in the den, you can be watching TV. So the point is that you have some place that you call home, and yet you would rather not be there. And so I started asking myself, what would make a person not want to be at home? I was like, does it take you long to answer that? Well, what is happening in that place that you call home, or that somebody else called home for you, or that you were born into? Like, somebody told you this is your home, this is your house, this is where you live, this is your family. Where violence could be prevalent in that home, yes. Molestation could be prevalent in that home. Yes. Poverty could be running rampant in that home. Yes. All of those things could make a person say that I want to leave. Sometimes it's just us. We just think that there's something better out there and we want to go chase it. So I got to get out of here because I feel like this place is holding me back. So there's a number of reasons why a person would not want to be in this place that somebody has told them should be their home. But then I said, okay, I get it. But why would he want to be at the cemetery? Why would you want to go there? And once upon a time, I was afraid of the cemetery. I have a friend named Chris. Her name is not Chris. Her name is Larissa Hale. That is her name. I called her Chris, but her name is Larissa Hale. So let me just honor that. But Larissa taught me and informed me and educated me on the danger of being afraid of the cemetery. Like, what does that look like for your life, Denise, to be afraid of the cemetery, to be afraid of where spirits live, right? To be afraid of where your ancestors are resting, to be afraid of the idea that your ancestors are resting, to have this understanding that these are ghosts that will harm you, and these are spirits that you need to put up the cross and pour the holy oil on. Like, what does that do for your life? What does that deprive you of as it relates to community? What does that deprive you of as it relates to comfort? What does that deprive you of as it relates to companionship? So she was very, very comfortable with her ancestors, with spirits, and not just being in their presence, but like talking to them and engaging them. And so I learned so much. And so when I first moved to Arkansas, one of the challenges that I put before me was to try to ride my bike or walk. I used to walk and ride my bike all the time. There's a cemetery right down here, right down the street from me. And to get to the point where I could not just, first of all, I had to teach myself that it was okay to ride my bike or to walk on the same side as the cemetery, because I was over on the other side. And then getting to the point where I can go in, and then I can go all the way in, and then I can walk the whole thing. Then I can sit down. Like, so it was a journey that I was on to get comfortable. And so asking myself now, like, so this place that people tell me is my home, I'm not comfortable here, but I find myself in this cemetery. What would make this man possessed with these demons, who's probably suffering from some form of mental illness, what would make him more comfortable here? Because what is the cemetery? Well, in the Greek, the cemetery is a sleeping place. This is a place where you find rest. This is the place where the spirits are among you. This is the place where you are not alone. Here is where you can find some semblance of peace. So this man says, I know y'all are telling me that these are the people that I'm supposed to be comfortable with. This is the place where I'm supposed to be at rest. But honestly, that's not what I'm getting here. But if I go over to this tomb here, first of all, people are leaving me alone because they've already considered me an outcast. Remember, they're calling me a demoniac. They're calling me a maniac. They're calling me demon possessed. They don't want to be around me. They think there's something wrong with me because I don't have any clothes on. So they've already isolated me and considered me to be a menace to society. And so that's fine, because here I have a place where I know that I can just be. And all of us need a place where we can just be. And if that's the place that you have now, where it's home in your house with your family of origin, I think that's great. But if it's not, that's okay too, because there are places that can be home for you. We have to help you find them, and you might find them on your own. And so this man says, I can't. So I'm not sure he's homeless. All right. That's my point. He has decided that this place that I have that's called home is not fit for me. Where I find peace, where I find comfort, where I find companionship, where I find rest is in the cemetery. And so that's where I'm going to be. And so Jesus is going through doing his thing. He's talking in parables. I'll probably talk about that parable at one point too, because I'm like, what, Jesus? So he's talking in parables and he's explaining parables. And then he decides to take this trip across the sea. So he goes directly across from the Sea of Galilee into the Gerasenes, Gerasa, where the Gerasenes live, the people of Gerasa. And there are going to be different names that you see for the Gerasenes, for the Gergesenes, garden scenes. So there are different words that you may come across, but they are all talking about this region, this area where this man is found. And so when Jesus gets there, he's met by this man and he's naked. He's naked, and this is his home. So when the man is finally when he's finally exorcised, when Jesus orders the demons out of him, then The Bible declares that the folks who heard about the folks who witnessed it went running to tell everybody what happened. You know how we do. We got to go run with the story, which is what some of us call gossip, but really it's gospel, right? Like we're preachers. This is good news. This is good news of the gospel. This man was just exorcised of his demons. I gotta run tell it. I gotta let you know that there is a man that can change your life, that can transform your situation. There is a man. His name is Jesus. I saw it for myself. I'm telling you what I know. Not what somebody told me. I'm telling you what I know. And so because he's speaking with conviction and power and spirit and passion, the people come running. What? Let me see. And when they come, they find him clothed. Now he has on clothes and in his right mind. And so Jesus allows us to make opportunity for therapy. Yes, we can make sure that you have clothes on your back. And we can make sure that you have the help that you need to regulate your mind. There's help for you in both of these spaces. We can give you clothes and we can give you peace of mind. Both of those things can happen. Jesus fixes it so that power is at work among us through our therapists, through our medical providers, through our mental health service people, right? Clothed and in his right mind. One of the things that did catch me as part of this conversation is the fact that when the demons can talk. So the demons recognize Jesus. When Jesus first encounters the man on the other side of the sea, away from Galilee, across the river, the man says, what? Like the man just cries out, falls down, like acknowledges who Jesus is and does not call him Jesus Christ, which Jesus Christ. I'm so glad he does not call Jesus Christ, so that we can kind of get away from this idea that Jesus has a first name and a last name, that Jesus's first name is Jesus and Jesus's last name is Christ. Like, no, that's not it. Christ is a title. Messiah is a title. Son of God, Son of Man. These are titles that help us better understand who Jesus is. So he doesn't call him Jesus Christ. He calls him Son of God. What does he call him? Son of, I don't read so many of them. He calls him Son of the Most High. He shouted, yes, he calls him Son of the Most High God. Son of the Most High God. Jesus, your title is Son of the Most High God. What would you have to do with me? Like, don't punish me. And so I thought it was interesting that the demons would say, don't punish them. Like, why would Jesus want to punish them? Right? Why would I want to punish you? Well, I want to punish you for the trauma that you are inflicting on this man. But is that really what's happening in the man's body? Because if this is a mental illness, then it's not like the man has any, like he doesn't have any control over it. So like, is it a punishment? Like, for the man to be demon possessed, for the man to present with mental health concerns, is that a punishment? No, I don't want to say that it is. And so but the demons the people recognize, like the spirits recognize who this is, recognizes Jesus, like, leave us alone, like, why are you here? And so the spirits are talking, they have a conversation with Jesus, and at some point they say, okay, if you are going to order us out of this man, because we can see what's coming, we can feel what's about to happen, then let us go into the pigs. Like, don't make us go into the abyss, this like dark hole of nothing. Like, let us go into the pigs. In other words, they're saying we need some kind of vessel. Right? We need some kind of vessel. And Jesus says, okay, I will allow you to go into the pigs. And that's what they do. They go into the pigs, and then the pigs run. The pigs run off a cliff, and they are drowned. So the pigs die. And so I'm like, wait a minute. So if the spirit had to get permission to go into the pigs, does it also mean that the spirit had to get permission to go into the man? And if the spirit had to get permission to go into the man, then why would Jesus say yes to the spirits being evil in the man? Like, is this an evil spirit? Well, that's what it says in 1 Samuel 16:14, right? 16:14. Yeah, this is an evil spirit. This is when Saul was and David were together, and David would play for Saul, but then Saul got to the point where he was not going to be friends with David anymore. And the Bible says that the spirit of the Lord, a spirit from the Lord leaves Saul, but the evil spirit from the Lord then comes to Saul. So I started thinking about that. I'm like, so this is another reason why we have to be careful with our interpretation, because if we move in that way, that's how we will then view people who have mental illness. We will say that you are evil, you are possessed, something is wrong with you. God does not love you because you ain't right. And so you got to be separated and isolated over here because we don't want to fool with you. Go on and live in the cemetery because we don't want to deal with you because you're superhuman. Like, oh, we don't know what's going on. And again, this misinterpretation perpetuates trauma, and it also denies healing and deliverance. And it also denies us community, because whoever this person is, regardless of the fact that they may be suffering from a mental illness, that does not make them less human, and that does not make them less loved, and that does not make them less God. It simply makes them different. And so how do we shore up their differences so that they can be celebrated and be made whole in our midst? And so I was just wondering about, Jesus, these orders that you've given, these orders that the people I say you've given, I can't get with that. And I'm not going to get with that. But this person was I don't necessarily even want to say that the person was born this way, because we know that sometimes, well, maybe they are born that way, but it doesn't manifest until later. Many people, the manifestation of the chemical imbalance in their brains happens when they are in college. And that's the onset of it. So it's a long time. Like we've known this person for a long time. And then all of a sudden, it's like we don't recognize them. And that's one of the things that has us scared. But the demons can talk to Jesus like, oh, let us get out of a vessel, which reminds me of this, to talk about this too, that this idea that we go around talking about the devil is busy and the devil doing this and the devil doing that, as if it's some spirit that's outside of a body, that if it's as if it's a spirit that's just kind of in the atmosphere and it's making us do stuff that we don't have any control over. The devil made me do it. Actually, no. You made yourself do it because the spirit is living in a body. It has to have a vessel. That's why it says, hey, if you're going to take us out of this man, let us go somewhere. Let us get in these pigs. Well, why would Jesus favor the pigs over the man? Well, duh, because the pigs cannot exact the kind of pain and trauma onto humans as other humans can. So the pigs like, look, we're just going to drown you. Jesus didn't drown the man, the human. Jesus drowned the pigs. Now they got mad about them pigs. Don't get me wrong. Just like people get mad about their pets, and I get it. But in this moment, if I got to choose the human or the pig, I'm going to choose the human. I know some people, I watch a lot of crime shows. I just watched one the other day where the woman asked her husband, soon-to-be ex-husband, to keep her dog while she goes out of town. While she was out of town, she had somebody kill her husband. She comes back and she finds her husband dead. Oh, my husband dead. She called, right? And then, but when she calls the person who she hired to kill her husband, she says, how's my dog? You know? So I get it. But in this case, for me, if I got to choose human or pig, I'm going to choose human every time. Right. And then how about working towards a world where all of the whole of creation, like nobody has to be sacrificed, not even the pigs. But in this case, that's what happens. The pigs are sacrificed, but the farmers are mad about it. And they like, whoa, Jesus, hold up. You have just killed the pigs. Like this is our livelihood. So you got to go because we scared. And I was like, what are you scared of? Are you scared that this man is now whole? Are you scared that he now has come into an understanding and a knowledge of his own self, his true self? How many people among us are scared that we just might learn who we really are? That how many among us are afraid that we just might recognize our divinity? How many people are scared that we just might fortify ourselves in the boldness and the confidence of knowing that we were created as great? We were created to just be, and our being alone is enough for us to be great. How many people are scared for us? So scared that they want to deny us access to our history, deny us access to education, deny us access to information that will feed our minds and our bodies and our souls and push us forward into the destiny of our divinity. How many people among us are like that? You scared because now that I know who I am, what am I going to do with it? Oh my goodness. What good trouble can I get into when I know myself? And so they scared. Jesus, you got to go. I don't care what you did. I don't care if he clothed and in his right mind, clothed in his right mind. I don't care what they calling it. You got to go. And what's interesting is that Jesus gets on the boat and he leaves. And I'm like, gee, how you just gonna let somebody run you out the like? I don't know. And I didn't do that work. I don't know, but that's what happens. They're afraid. Jesus has killed these pigs, and they're afraid. They want Jesus to leave. Jesus leaves, and he's gone. As Jesus is leaving, look what happens. I'm gonna let you see this part. This is one of the parts that I pulled up. Well, no. Maybe I don't want to do that just yet. I'm not gonna go to that part. Let me go to this part right here. So it's interesting to me because what I want to make sure that I do, and I know that I often ask you all to do the same thing. Like let's just not focus on a pericope. Like let's try to set it in the context of at least the chapter. If we don't have time to set it in the context of the entire book, at least let us set it in the context of the chapter. And so I thought it was interesting that we have this man over here in verse 26. We meet this man who is demon possessed, and he is naked. He's living in the cemetery because he's no longer in his home. So he doesn't have that home. So he's home. He's that homeless. That particular home he does not have. All right. But he's living in the cemetery. This is his home. And he's an outcast. He's isolated. Like people are scared of him because he has on the chains. He can break the chains because the demons make him so strong. Like, look at this, how we are portraying this man. It's the same way that the cop who killed Michael Brown portrayed him when he was in court. There was a court artist in the room, and he was sketching what the cop was describing. And the way he described Michael Brown, when the artist turns it around, it is a picture of a beast, this beast that's superhuman, that's big, that's basically foaming at the mouth. And so this is what the man is using. The cop is using it as justification. I was scared. And so this is how they painted this man who's demon possessed, like all of these things. He's got these demons in him. And now look at him. We can't do anything. We are afraid of him. Oh my goodness. Ah! But in the very first verse of the chapter, that's not part of the pericope that I've pulled out for you to make this point, I think it's interesting. Let me read. I'm gonna put it up and let's read it together. Here it is. Let me get some water. The first through the third verses, and this is the Good News translation. Sometime later, Jesus traveled through towns and villages preaching the good news about the kingdom of God. The 12 disciples went with him, and so did some women who had been healed of evil spirits and diseases. Mary, who was called Magdalene, some people say Magdalene, from whom 7 demons had been driven out. Joanna, whose husband Chuza was an officer in Herod's court, and Susanna, and many other women who used their own resources to help Jesus and his disciples. So let's go back to this one right here. Mary Magdalene, from whom 7 demons had been driven out. Joanna, maybe her husband's name is Chuza, and then Susanna. These are women, and it was many other women. Now, my question to you: if Mary Magdalene has 7 demons exorcised, 7 demons driven out of her, why are we not describing her as a maniac, a demoniac? Why aren't we describing her as one who is unfit to live among us? You got to be the demons have to drive you out to the wilderness because you don't need to be among us. Like, why don't we talk about her in that way? Well, the answer is at the very bottom where it says, well, she was using her resources to bankroll Jesus's ministry. People with the money. Got to be careful how you talk about the people with the money. Yeah, we don't mind giving you the facts, but they different because they got money. And I think that is a way, that is also a way that we are interpreting this scripture. I don't know if it's a misinterpretation because it actually is applied. It can be applied to justify the way that we live now. So people may not be misinterpreting it because they want to use it to say, hey, we got to treat some people differently. If you got money, you're going to be treated. You can have the same issue as somebody else. But when it comes to you, we're going to talk about you differently. We're going to treat you differently. We're even going to let you be on the road with Jesus. Your name don't even show up. Most women's names don't even show up in the Bible. It'll just be a woman at the wheel. But this one, we know your name, Mary, the one from, now, don't get them twisted now, because you got Mary, the mother of Jesus. Yeah. But this one, Mary from Magdala. Mhm. And so I thought that was interesting. And I wanted to point that out, that we've got two people in the chapter, both of them who are experiencing the same thing in their bodies with having other spirits, which really we know to be, we have a better understanding now that these are different ways that their bodies react to the chemistry in their brains. And now it manifests in this way. But the one with the money, come on. The one without the money, you naked and you homeless and you scaring us, you have to be pushed aside. We do that now. Think about the people that you see on the street who have some kind of mental illness, who are talking to themselves, whose hair is all matted, whose clothes are filthy, whose bodies stink. What do? We relegate them to the streets. We relegate them to the mission houses. We relegate them to being homeless. We force them into homelessness. We put them out of our homes. But if you can somehow find enough, if you have enough resources to be checked into a private, to be checked into a facility with your private insurance, well, then we don't look at you the same way. Same condition, same diagnosis, but different resources, which put you in a different category. Just wanted to bring that up before I bring this up. Okay. So then the last thing that I want to say is, and this is the reason why we have the title Deliverance and Not Christianity. That's what I was going to call it, Deliverance, Not Christianity. But I chose to say deliverance with an exclamation point, and I did a strike through Christianity. That's what's on the flyer if you have seen it. But here's why. Look at the very last couple of verses in this pericope. Verse 38. So starting like right here. The man from whom the demons had gone out begged Jesus, "Let me go with you." But Jesus sent him away, saying, "Go back home and tell what God has done for you." The man went through the town telling what Jesus had done for him. So let me say that again. The man who with the demons, he has now been delivered. And he says, "Jesus, let me go with you." And Jesus said, "No, don't come with me. Don't follow me. Go back home and tell your family, tell your people, tell your community, tell everybody you can find your story. Share it with them so that they will know that there is a way that they too can be transformed, that their lives too can be changed. It is possible for you to get the help that you need, that you can get the information that you need, the education that you need, so you can come to know yourself in the fullness of who you are, even if you do need medication and even if you don't. That's what I'm about, Jesus says. I'm about you knowing yourself, not following me, because what we have done is we took Jesus as prophet. We took Jesus as Messiah. We took Jesus as Son of God and turned him into a figurehead for Christianity. So we are followers of Christ. Well, Christ was not a Christian. Christ did not establish this religion. Christ did not say, "Come follow me into this land of Christianity." As a matter of fact, Jesus was a Jew. I'm gonna keep saying that. Jesus was Jewish. So Jesus says, "No, my mission and my purpose is to help you come to know yourself and to help you find your home in yourself, to help you know how great and divine you are. And then by you knowing who you are, you can spread the word that there is a way that everybody can come into knowing who you are. And as we continue to tell each other stories, our stories will bind us together, because it is that one spirit that delivers us all. That one spirit, the Sawubona, that delivers us all. So this is not about following me into Christianity. This is about being delivered from whatever it is that keeps you from living your true self, from living your best life, from receiving the abundant life promised to you in John 10:10. The enemy has come to kill, to steal, and to destroy. But I have come, says Jesus, that you may have life, and that abundantly. And how else can you have the abundant life other than being comfortable in your skin, comfortable in the way that you were created, and being able to express yourself with the freedom that the Spirit gives you in the way that it shows up in your body, and that it's okay with whatever brain you have and whatever chemistry is going on in that brain. And so Jesus says, "I'm calling you to deliverance. I'm not calling you to Christianity. I want you to be free. And I'm not sure that Christianity will give you that. Jesus, like, I didn't even conversation I'm trying to have. Y'all gave me Christianity. I didn't ask for that. What I did ask for is for you to be free, for you to be liberated, for the chains, for you to be able to break your chains. Because this is not like woman thou art loose, where this is not like Lazarus, where he tells the community to loose him. Y'all go loose him. This man, this demon, was able to break his own chains. Yeah. And we can too. The power of the Spirit allows us to do that in conversation with each other as community, understanding the power of our oneness. So that's what I wanted to talk about, this demon-possessed man who reminds us to embrace deliverance in whatever form it takes. Medication, conversation, divesting from religion, being disentangled from the misinterpretations that we receive on Sunday mornings. Whatever your deliverance looks like, pursue it. Pursue it. God is present for you, just as God was present for this man. Through the power of community, because Jesus came over, brought the people over and said, hey, let me deliver you. Let us. So that's all I got. Hopefully I'll see you next week right here, same time, live and color for the good fight.